Hi everybody, today what we're going to be talking about are adding and subtracting unlike fractions. Okay, let's get busy. What are unlike fractions? Unlike fractions are ones that don't have the same denominators, right? So here's some examples of one that have different denominators. Alright, so what we're going to be using today is finding the LCD to help us get what the least common denominator would be. So we have the same denominator, so then we can add or subtract. Okay, looking at the first example here. We have 9 and 3 as our denominator. So how do we find what the least common denominator is? Some of them you're going to be able to do in your head and some of you're not. So I'm going to do the first few using our division method here, and then I'm going to start getting into more using our abilities just to look at the numbers and determine what the least common denominator is. Okay, so here we've got 3. Let's divide a 3 out and you get 3 and 1. So your least common denominator sits right here on the L. So the LCD is equal to 3 times 3 times 1, which is 9. Okay, so we want to build up the fractions to have 9 as the denominator. Okay, so that's our goal. We want 9 as the denominator of both of those fractions. All right, well, the goal here is to do something like this. You want to have something over 9 plus something over 9. That's our goal. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, if you recall, if we had 2/3 multiplied by what gives us something over 9? We did examples like this in this chapter. So what do you have to multiply 3 by to get 9? 3. The numerator also must be multiplied by 3, which gives you 6/9. So that's what you have. You have 2/9 because 2/9 and a fraction with a denominator of 9 is that exact fraction. 2/3, its equivalent fraction is 6/9. So what we end up with is 8/9 as the answer. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing in this section. We're going to be doing several examples like this. Okay, you try it number 1A. Evaluate this fraction, 4/15 plus 9/10. Okay, what is the least common denominator of these two numbers? So we've got 15 and 10. If we factor out a 5 from each, we're left with 3 and 2. Okay, so the LCD is 5 times 3 times 2, which is 30. Okay, so we have a least common denominator of 30. Okay, the way I'm going to write this out is I'm going to have a denominator here of 30. And I'm going to show you how to work with it without having to do so much side work. Okay, so we want a denominator of 30. What multiplied by 15 gives you 30? Well, that's 2. So that gives us 8/30. Okay, what multiplied by 10 gives you 30? Well, 3. So 10 times 3. Well, whatever you do to the denominator, you must also do to the numerator. So here we get 27. So this gives us 35 over 30 because you add the numerators together and hold on to that common denominator. All right, always look and see if you can reduce. Can we reduce this at all? Yes, we need to reduce it actually into, we could put it into a mixed number, right? So our mixed number is it's going to go in one time with 5 left over, so 5/30. Now, question is, can you reduce this? Yes, you can, into 1 and 1/6 because you can see that, oh, there's a 5 is a factor of both 5 and 30. Okay, so that's your final answer. Okay, so let's do C here. 4 is a denominator and 5 is a denominator. What do you know about 4 and 5? Do they have anything in common with each other? No, what we said is that 4 and 5 are relatively prime to each other. If two numbers are relatively prime, then what we said was that the LCD is equal to the product of those two numbers. So 4 times 5 is 20. There's your least common denominator. There's nothing common to either one of them. That's your least common denominator. So here we have a denominator of 20. Okay, what do you multiply 4 by? Well, 5. 5 times 5 is 20, so you also must multiply the numerator by 5. Gives you 15/20. How about 5 times what gives you 20? 5 times 4. So this gives you 8/20. Okay, what's 15/20 take away 8/20? Well, that gives you 7/20. Okay, and there's your answer. You don't have to reduce that anymore because there is no more reducing possible. Okay, now what we're going to do is adding and subtracting with negative fractions. So be careful of the negatives in here. Okay, first off, let's look for the LCD because we don't have a common denominator here. In this case, the LCD, I'm going to start doing them more in our heads. I'm going to flip-flop back and forth with that. Looking here, you go 12 and 24. Well, I know that a multiple of 12 is 24. So that is the least common denominator. Okay, so there's your denominators. Okay, so what do I need to multiply 12 by? 2. Okay, so now I end up with 14 over 24, minus a negative what? Negative 5, because we already had the denominator of 24. We had to do nothing to it. Okay, so what happens when I have two negatives right here? Two negatives make a plus. So I'm going to plus those right now. Okay, so what do we get here? We wind up with 19/24. I can't reduce that anymore, and I can't write it as a mixed number because it's not an improper fraction. So you're in great shape there. Okay, how about this next one, 25 and 15? Okay, let's look at the division method. If you can't figure out what's common between those two values very quickly, then always drop into the division method. Okay, so let's divide out of 5, and what we're left with is 5 and 3. Okay, so what we do here is the least common denominator is equal to 5 times 3, which is 75. Okay, so the denominator of 75 is what we're looking for here. Okay, what do you have to multiply 25 by to get 75? Well, you need to multiply by 3, so that means the numerator gets multiplied by 3. So that's 27. How about 15? 15 needs to get multiplied by 5. So now negative 9 times 5 is negative 45. Okay, when you add this together, you're going to get something over 75, right? The numerators, you got 27 plus a negative 45. The negative number is the larger number here, so your result will be negative. So off to the side if you have to do that, if the numbers are too large, go ahead and subtract off to the side like this. Okay, so what you get out is 18. So it's negative 18 over 75. Now don't forget, you always have to look and see, can I reduce this? And you can reduce it. Let me show you one way you can check yourself on how to reduce it. 3 actually goes into each of these numbers. You can test it by saying 1 plus 8 is 9. Oh yeah, 9's a multiple of 3. 7 plus 5 is 12. 12 is also a multiple of 3. So 3 divides evenly into each of those numbers. So divides into 18 and gives us 6. It gives us 6. What is about 75 divided by 3? That's 15. Okay. So what you end up with is negative. Oh, can we go any further? Ooh, there's a little bit more. I was just realized that. Can we divide? Did I divide that out right? Oop, I didn't divide it out right. Dividing 3 into 75 is 25. So that gives you negative 6/25. Okay, there we go. Got through that example. So now we got negative 6/25 as the answer. Does that make sense to everybody? How you can find that using your division method also. Those results down here, as long as you write numerator, denominator here, you get numerator and denominator as the answer there, as the output. Okay, let's go into the next example, next set of examples. Okay, our next set of examples is evaluate 4/9 b plus 7/18 b. Okay, again, these have variables now. That's okay, don't worry about the variables being there. You just have to worry about getting the least common denominator. Okay, looking here again now, let me write this in, I don't see the bar there. So let's look here. What is the least common denominator between 9 and 18? Well, if you just think about it, multiples, I'm looking for multiples. Oh, 18 is a multiple of 9, so let's just write 18 there. That means that fraction remains the same, untouched. How about this one? What do you have to multiply 9 by? 2. So we end up with 8/18 b plus 7/18 b. Adding together, what do you get? 15/18 b. Because we have common these are common, okay? Those are like terms. So we can add them together because they are like terms. Okay, so now you have to always look at the fraction and see, can I reduce that fraction at all? Well, there is a 3 in each, and you do get 5/6 b. Okay, is the answer that we get. Okay, how about this one? Negative 7/8 y minus 3/10 y. Okay, what do we have to do here? Again, finding the least common denominator. And what is our least common denominator here? Well, again, like I said, if you can't get it quickly, what you can always do is plop into this, divide 2 out of each, and you get 4 and 5. So your LCD is equal to 2 times 4 times 5, which is 40. Okay, so cool. So our denominator, this common denominator is 40. So I'm going to rewrite everything with a denominator of 40. I'm going to keep the variables in there so I don't forget them. Okay, now what do I have to multiply 8 by to get 40? I have to multiply by 5. So this is 5. Negative 7 times 5 is negative 35. Okay, so we've got that. How about now? This needs to be multiplied by 4. So I get 12 over 40. Okay, both are negative. Negative 35 and negative 12. So what do I get out? I get negative 47 over 40 y. This can be fixed up, right, as a mixed number. How many times does 40 go into 47? Total of 1 time, with a total of 7 left over. And then don't forget to attach the y on the end. Okay, there's the answer. Okay, let's look here at now adding mixed numbers. I'm going to give you 2 options to do here, okay, on these adding mixed numbers. Okay, you can either do it with just adding the mixed numbers together, or we can use improper fractions for this. Okay, but definitely, first off, we look and we go, we can't even add these together because they don't have common denominators. So find your common denominator between 8 and 4. Okay, the common denominator between 8 and 4 is 24. Okay, so let's look here. What can we do? Again, if you are, it's 24, it's actually 8, sorry. The least common denominator between 8 and 4 is 8. So always pick, if you have the number here, 8 is a multiple of the other, then you know you're set. So 1 3/8 is great. That's in good shape. Plus 3 and, how do I get an 8 in the denominator here? Multiply both numerator and denominator by 2. Okay, so now add together. You go, okay, 1 plus 3 is 4. Okay, now you have common denominator, so you know it's going to be over 8. So 3 plus 2 is 5. So it's 4 and 5/8. Okay, I also said I was going to show you another option to do. If you don't like doing adding mixed numbers together like this, you can do it as improper fractions. Let's look at this right here. Once you've already converted it, you can then convert it into a mixed, or into an improper fraction. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 3. That's 11 over 8. Okay? Plus, what's the other one? Well, 8 times 3 is 24, plus 2, that's going to be 25 over 8. Okay, so what can I do here then? This, you add it together, you go, okay, then I wind up with, did I multiply those right? Oops, I didn't add right. This is 26 over 8, sorry. Okay, so now when you add together, you end up with 37 over 8. So, how many times does 8 go into 37 evenly? Well, it goes in 4 times with what left over? It goes in 4 times with 5/8 left over. So what you notice here is that the answers are the same. You're just doing a lot of converting back and forth, and you could cause some mistakes and errors like you saw that I almost did, right? Because I didn't add right. So it just depends on what you're more comfortable with. If you're comfortable with adding the mixed numbers as they sit, then go ahead and leave them that way. If you're comfortable with going back and forth between improper fractions and mixed numbers, then you can do that option as well. I'm going to do this next one just using the mixed number route. Okay, let's find the least common denominator, which is 20. Okay, because 5 and 4 don't have any common factors, so we get to multiply them together. So we're going to have 12 over 20. And I'm going to write them stacked. I like adding these fractions together when stacked on top of each other, it makes it so much easier for me to visually do it. Okay, so you're more than welcome to do that too. What do you have to multiply 5 by to get 20? That'd be 4, so that gives you 8/20ths there. And what do you have to multiply here? By 5, so that gives you 15/20ths. So here we end up with 18 and 23 over 20. You go, my goodness, 23 over 20, that's an improper fraction. You can't have an improper fraction as an answer in a mixed number like this. This fraction right here needs to be a proper fraction at all times in a mixed number. So what does this mean? Well, this is really 18 plus 23 over 20. Okay, can you reduce 23 over 20 to a mixed number? Absolutely. You go, okay, well that means that 20 goes into 23 a total of 1 time with 3 left over, so 3/20ths. So your final answer would be adding your whole numbers together, which gives you 19 and 3/20ths. Okay, so there's your answer. Okay, let's go in and subtract these. Okay, let's convert them to have a common denominator. Okay, so looking here, what's the common denominator? The common denominator here is 18. Okay, so what do you have to multiply 9 by to get 18? That'd be 2. So 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, here 5 is, that one's in great shape because you already had 18 as the denominator, so you're all good. Okay, so here we go. We have 10 take away 4, and that would, or 10 take away 6, I gave you the answer, is 4. And now you look, you go, okay, the numerator of the fraction in the top here is bigger than the numerator of the fraction in the bottom. In order to subtract, it needs to be that way. So when you do that, you end up with 3/18. Okay, so you do want to make sure that you check to see if you have to reduce this, okay? And you do, so there you divide both by 3, so you get 4 and 1/6 as your answer, okay? All right, so now looking at this next example here, we got 5/6 and 3/4. Again, no common denominator, but the common denominator is 12. So let's put the common denominator in there of 12. And we have to multiply this one by 3. So we get 9. This one gets multiplied by 2. So we get 10. Okay, so the numerator, the fraction in the numerator is bigger than the numerator of the fraction in the bottom here. So that's great. We're in great shape. So now we can subtract. We get 12 take away 4 is 8. Okay, 10 minus 9 is 1, and it all goes over 12. So 8 and 1/12. We don't even have to reduce anything because everything is reduced. Okay, so we're in great shape. All right, so let's look at these next examples. Okay, again, we need to find a common denominator. The common denominator between 8 and 4 is 8. So here we wind up with 11 and 5/8. Okay, minus 6, and what do we get here? This needs to be an 8, so multiply both numerator and denominator by 2. So we get 6/8. The problem with this right here is that you notice that this number, the 5, is smaller than this. We can't possibly say 5 take away 6. It gives us a negative result. We don't want that. That's not what we want. So we need to make this bigger. We did this a couple sections ago. How we did it was we did something called borrowing. We borrowed 1 from here, and we made this 10. And in order to make this larger, what we did was we added to this numerator whatever the value was in the denominator of the fraction. So this becomes 10 and 13/8. Take away 6 and 6/8. Okay? So make sure you review that if you can't remember how to do those. Okay, this is using the mixed number form. I'll show you in a second how to do it using improper fractions. Okay, so now we're ready to subtract. So we got 10 take away 6 is 4. 13 take away 7, or 13 take away 6 is 7. Again, I give you the answer. There we go. It's 4 and 7/8. Okay, like I told you, I would show you how to do it using mixed or improper fractions. Okay, if you have 11 and 5/8 and 6 and 3/4. Let's say we start out with this as our problem. Okay, let's convert it. We got 8 times 11 is 88, plus 5 is 93 over 8. Okay, this one right here, you're going to take away 4 times 6 is 24 plus 3 is going to be 27. Okay, so we've got 27 over 4. Again, they don't have the same denominator, so you do have to fix that up. Okay, the common denominator is going to be 8. Okay, so the top number is in great shape, 93 over 8. That's already all set. This one does need to get multiplied by 2, so we do end up with 54 eighths. Okay, we are subtracting those. Okay, so your result will be a number over 8. So what is that number? What is 93 take away 54? Okay, so we wind up with 39. So 39 over 8. Fix it up. You got to put it back into mixed number form because it is an improper fraction. So what you get here is 8 goes into 39 4 times with 7 left over. And lo and behold, the answers are the same. Okay, they're, like I said, changing it from mixed number into improper fraction and then back into mixed number again. It does introduce some possibility for error, but as you see, you could have a possibility for error having to do the borrowing too. So either one, whichever one you're comfortable with, you can do either method and you can still come out to the same answer. Okay, so let's look at this problem here. At least the common denominator is going to be 6. So we get something that looks like this. We need denominator of 6. So this needs to be multiplied by 3. So here we get 3. This one needs to get multiplied by 2. So we get 2 there. Okay, so noticing again that the number in the top is smaller than the number in the bottom on the fraction. So we do have to do a borrowing. We do have to say, okay, this becomes 7. Now I need to add whatever is in the denominator to the numerator. So what that tells us is we get 7 and 8 6, take away 4 and 3 6. Okay, so we end up with 3 and 5 6 as the answer. Okay? All right, last problem. Let's do this one. Let's look here. What do you do when you have 12, take away 9 and 7 twelfths? What do we do when we have no fraction there? Well, we have to have a fraction there in order to take 7 twelfths away from it. We need something there, right? So how do we do that? Well, the way we did that before is we said, well, this is the same as saying 12 is equal to 11 plus 1. Well, what is this 1 here? This 1, can we make it into a fraction? Absolutely. Can we make it into the fraction 12 twelfths? Absolutely. So what we wind up with here is 11 and 12 twelfths. And why did I pick 12ths? I picked 12 so that I would have a common denominator with this. Okay? I picked the smartest choice for us. Okay? And so that's what it worked out to be. So now you're ready to subtract because you have now given yourself a fraction. 11 and 12 twelfths is the same as 12. Okay? So now when you subtract, you get 11 take away 9 is 2. 12 take away 7 is 5. 5 twelfths. So 12 and 5 twelfths. And so there's your answer. Okay, so good luck on this section. I know it's a rather long section, but good luck, and I look forward to seeing you next time.